let's get into chapter 12 of the leadership space. And this is the final chapter of the book. Now, there are other videos that I've done because there's a whole second book. This is actually the first book in a series, in a trilogy. This being book 1, I kind of look at it as the engine of leadership. Book 2 is kind of the transmission, right? Book 1's about the leader, the engine. Book 2 is about the transmission, the team. Book 3 is about the destination. And I think ultimately that book's going to be about the world we're creating. Like, we're leaders with a team, but for what purpose? And so that's the whole trilogy. I thought it would be appropriate to tell you there is more. And there are videos of book 2 already on YouTube now. So anyway, I'm just a little sad this is coming to a completion here, but it's exciting as well. Chapter 12. Okay, so the power to create reality. This is chapter 12. And I love the way this opens up. I'll share it with you, and then I'm going to go right into a really cool story, a true story. So that opens up with the idea that, look, Newton's, I don't remember which one it was. It might be the third law of motion, but the law of motion that Newton developed, which is essentially the law of inertia, which is that objects that are in motion tend to stay in motion, and objects that are at rest tend to stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. Here's the point. You, as a leader, you are that outside force. You, as a leader, are the force that causes things to move or change their course. You are the power to create reality, right? And think about it. It's really true. And essentially, how do we create reality? We create reality with our thoughts, with our energy or willpower, and with our action, our committed, dynamic action. And this is what happens on your team. When you speak a new idea into existence. Your team is also they're also leaders. They're also creators. They have the power to speak a new idea into existence right in the middle of a meeting or in the middle of a conversation. Somebody comes up with a new concept, a new product idea, a new solution, a new direction. And that is creating the future, the new reality that's going to emerge through our teamwork together. So I wanted chapter 12 to kind of be very empowering and basically reiterate some great concepts that are really eternal truths that have been written about at length by a lot of other authors, but I tried to synthesize these concepts again into one clean, powerful final chapter. And I want to share with you the first story here, which is a very powerful one about Henry Ford. Okay, because it demonstrates the power of thought to create reality. So what happened is essentially, everyone knows Henry Ford, right? Henry Ford essentially created, he didn't invent the car, but he advanced the idea of sort of large-scale production of the car with the assembly line, etc., and kind of is a big player in the latter part of the Industrial Revolution. So Henry Ford goes to his team of engineers and he says, guys, look, we need to create an 8-cylinder engine out of a single block of metal. We'll call it the single block 8. And it was going to be a new advancement in the design of engines. And his engineers looked at him and they're like, okay, yeah, that can't be done. It's not possible. And so Henry Ford said to the engineers, he said, I know, but do it anyway. And so they're like, oh no, like he's actually going to make us do this. And so they're like, oh, what am I going to do? So they go to their drawing board, they start working it out. And Henry Ford goes to them 6 months later and he says, how's it going? And they say, yeah, it's not going, boss, because it can't be done. He goes, no problem. Keep working on it. He comes big working. They work, try to figure it out. Comes back 6 months later. He says, hey guys, how's a single block 8 coming? They go, yeah, it's still not working because it can't be done. It's impossible. And Henry Ford says, no problem. Keep working on it. So they keep working on it. They're trying to do it. They have an aha moment before Henry Ford can come back to check in again after 6 months. They go rushing in his office. They say, boss, you're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. We figured out how to create the single block 8. And he looks at them and he says, nice job. And they're like, whoa, we did it. And he's thinking to himself, Henry Ford, the kind of history is essentially like he basically held into existence the idea of the single block 8, that it was possible, and then essentially the team slowly conformed to his vision of the future. Henry Ford created in thought, like literally in imagination, okay? He created the thought that it's possible. And then by using dynamic willpower, Okay, what is dynamic willpower as distinguished from just regular willpower? Dynamic willpower is willpower that never quits. You just keep going, going, going until you manifest. And so Henry Ford exhibited dynamic willpower by saying, yeah, I know it's not been done yet, but keep going, keep going. He created in his thoughts what was possible in reality, and through dynamic willpower, the will to continue until it's accomplished. Elon Musk talks about that too. I just recently saw a video of him. And I don't reference these great, huge mega figures very often in this book because this book is about the inner workings of how does an average person, how does any individual person, myself, how do I manifest the power of leadership? That's what it's about. It's not about these big, great people. It's about all of us. Okay. But these people are relevant here because they have manifested this power to develop dynamic new concepts. And we can all do it. I'll share a story in a little bit of something in my own life. Okay. Thought plus dynamic willpower plus what else? Committed action, meaning continuing until you get there. And that's the key. And that's the key to that Henry Ford story. Edison did this as well. Edison developed the light bulb, and he tried 9,000, almost 10,000 times, right? And on his 10,000th attempt, he got it. Right? He never quit. He kept visualizing the outcome, driving forward different experience until he materialized his thought. And that's the key. There's something I wanted to share about what Einstein said. See, Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge. Imagination is more important than knowledge, right? So, imagination is ascendant. It's above knowledge. Why? Because knowledge is what you already know is possible. You already know how things work. You already know what can be done. You already know what can't be done. But in the realm of imagination is this open universe of possibility. Well, what else could be done that we don't already know? And so Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. Why? Because this is where new creations come from. This is the realm where knowledge will eventually be discovered and born. And so it's really powerful to remind yourself from time to time that the whole universe is this sort of energetic dance of possibilities that we can have a thought and generate it and materialize it if we are clear and never give up and use the qualities that are within all of us as human beings. Every single one of us has this power. I fundamentally believe that. So I'll share another story with you and think about how can you develop this in your own leadership? What's a good way that you could bring this to life for yourself? Notice where you find yourself wanting to quit. Notice where you find yourself wanting to give up. I'm not saying beat your head against the wall and keep trying the same thing over and over and getting the same results as the definition of insanity. Certainly when Edison was developing the light bulb, he didn't try the same filament every time. He tried a new one each time. Same goal, different path, different process. Find a way. Okay? That's what I'm trying to say. Give yourself the energy, the belief that it is possible, and you will discover a way. All right, so a personal story, and it wasn't the development of, a product or something per se. Although I have to say, even developing this book and materializing it, I remember nights writing, and I used to say to my friends and my students who were trying, encouraging me, and I appreciate all of you guys. Thank you. It helped. I remember, writing this thing and thinking, oh my God, it's so painful to try to get all these thoughts down, from my brain down through my fingers. And the vision I had in my mind literally was that I literally felt like my brain was like a sponge that had sucked this ink out of the universe. And then I was squeezing my brain and the ink was running down through my veins, through my fingertips into the computer. And I was typing. It was excruciating, to be honest. It really was. And that was my first one, so maybe it'll be easier for the future. But it was tough. But the thing is, I really wanted to do it. And I kept visualizing the outcome and thinking, how could I do it? I knew I wasn't going to quit, and I just kept on working until it finished. And here it is. I mean, it's there. You know what I mean? It can be done, right? So let me share this other story, right? And I recognize the relative levels of accomplishment from these great minds that created industries and what have you, but I think all of us have the power to create. That's what I believe. So I will share with you that, my first piece of property I ever bought in California was a condo. And then I was back in like 2009. And I remember like I was teaching at a university. I still teach at the university. And at the time I was like, I don't know if I can afford any of these houses. They were like so expensive. They're even more expensive now. But at the time I was like, I just don't know if I could do it. And I just kept visualizing it. But I really would love to buy a property. And I kept thinking, okay, it's got to be possible. It's got to be possible. And then boom, the whole market shifted. That whole financial crisis, prices came crashing down. And I'm not happy that anybody lost equity or lost their job. I'm not. But, the reality is life ebbs and flows. It goes up and down. And so there was an opportunity for me to buy. I was like, all right, talk to my realtor. It's a wonderful lady. And she's like, I found a place for you. Let's do it. So I signed the contract and then I got really nervous. Because the truth of the matter is that same summer, I was teaching full time and then I couldn't teach the next year. They didn't have the job because the financial crisis killed the job. And so I had to go, back to like a teaching adjunct. And I was like, shit, what am I going to do? I can't afford it. So I pulled out of the deal. Like I stopped the contract. And I remember the night I did that, I was like, the next morning I was like, man, I really made a mistake here. And so I just kept visualizing, it's got to still happen. It's got to still happen. It's got to still happen. I kept thinking to myself, stay in the contract. I'm like, dude, there's no contract. But I kept visualizing, no, that's mine. And then like 2 nights later, my realtor calls me and I pick up the phone right before I was going to teach a class. And she says, hey, do you believe in miracles? I'm like, well, yeah, of course. She says, well, I don't know how this happened, but the cash buyer who replaced you just dropped out and the original owners want to sell the property to you. I was like, dude, sign it. Let's go. Do it. And so my little story there is just essentially to say that I had the visceral experience, literally, of pulling that property back to myself after I had kind of lost it through fear. I pulled it back, maybe with faith, maybe with will, maybe with intention, but like I literally had that experience that my mind had an influence on the outcome in reality. And I'll leave it there. It was an experience. I saw that. I've seen this happen in my own life where your power of thought plus dynamic willpower plus committed action can create incredible results. And maybe just finish this last piece. And again, look at how you could apply this for yourself. Where have you not given yourself the power or the permission to realize you are an influential being? You are. It's just a matter of your commitment to your cause or your desire for the outcome and then to continue until you actually get there. You can do it. So I'll leave you with this last thought. So remember back to Edison when he was creating the light bulb and he said, yeah, I did try 10,000 times, but I don't look at my 10,000 attempts, my 9,999 attempts as failure. I just found 9,999 ways that you can't make a light bulb until I found the one that you could make the light bulb, right? So what did he do with that phrase, that thought in his mind? What did he shift? Remember the 3 C's, choice, context, contribution. What did Edison shift in his own thoughts? He shifted his context. 9,999 attempts wasn't failure. It was the road to success. And that's the key as a creator, as a leader, is that you've got to consistently empower yourself to remind yourself that anything that goes wrong is simply part of the path to what's going to go right. And I'll be blunt, I got to do it myself. I watch myself. I wrote this damn thing, and I watch myself, sometimes struggle with my own belief. What could I do? What can I not do? What's possible? What's not? I deal with it. I go up and down like anybody else. But what I have experienced, and sometimes it's painful, I get it, but what I've experienced is that these principles are eternal. All the stuff that's in this book comes from so many brilliant authors, great teachers throughout history, and it's all synthesized here. And who knows, maybe at the end of the day I wrote it to inspire myself to keep going in life, and in leadership, and in love, and in everything that matters. And I hope that I was able to inspire you and give you some light, and give you some love, and give you some passion, because the truth is we're all incredible and we just have to believe in ourselves and go for it. And that's my advice. I think you're great. I hope you enjoyed the series.